Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we've got a lot to talk about. We've got softball, and then we've got camps. We got Thursday and Saturday camps that we are going to discuss at length. But first and foremost, burying the lead, Parker, the girls four-peated. They didn't just four-peat.
I think that's the opposite of burying the lead.
I don't want to bury the lead. I didn't want to bury the lead. That's what I meant to say. I'm not going to bury the lead. They four-peated, and they just kicked the living crap out of Texas.
Yeah, that was vintage OU softball right there. I mean, I shouldn't
say
Mike
White tears were tasted good, didn't they?
I shouldn't say all of us figured that would happen, but there were many that figured, okay, once the Sooners make it to Devon Park, they're going to start playing their best ball. And it got a little dicey at times. Florida gave them a run for their money, a heck of a run for their money, by the way. Props to the Gators for being able to come that close to toppling the Sooners. But when the bright lights came on and it was time for the championship series for all the marbles, the Red River Rivalry Championship Series, Patty Gasso on one side, Mike White on the other, the Sooners came through in a big way. And tip of the cap to Kelly Maxwell, man, because look, Oklahoma got contributions from all over to win that title, but there is no question whatsoever, and there was no question whatsoever, who was the MVP of the Women's College World Series and that championship final series in particular, and that was Kelly Maxwell. If there is one player that was indispensable, truly indispensable throughout the Sooners run, it was Kelly Maxwell. Can't say enough about the job that she did and the work that she put in to get the Sooners in position to secure a fourth straight title.
It was beautiful. Like this, I allow myself to actually, because you and I don't cover the softball program. Like we watch it from a distance, right? Like we talk about it, we know about it, but Jesse covers it.
Yeah.
So I allow myself to join in with my family in cheering on the girls, and that one was fun. They're so fun to watch. Like we talked about that at lunch today, you and I did, and it was just it's just a different brand of ball and their passion. And I was talking to Josiah Dickerson's dad, the 2028 running back out of Washington, Oklahoma today, and we both were talking about the 3-run single with I believe it was Jada Coleman, and when she reared back and yelled, like you could feel it, like you just felt her passion there, and I love that type of stuff. So it was a fun series, and then to listen to Mike White just whine and cry in the presser about every little detail. That was it. It was just like 2022 all over again, right? Like what it felt like when they thumped them. Well, it's not fair because they're playing in Oklahoma and they have an upper hand with NIL and stuff. Dude, you have every opportunity. He blamed it on all the athletic programs at Texas. I'm pretty positive Oklahoma has a bunch of athletic programs too. I mean, every day you have the opportunity. And look, that team is young for Texas, so they're going to be back. It's going to be interesting to see what Patty Gasso does, but can't count out the GOAT, right? Title number 8, 6 out of the last 8 in title number 8. So congratulations to them. All right. We're going to shorten this podcast, so we're going to get right into the Manscaped read, pay some bills, and then we're going to talk about the camps because there's so much to talk about.
Try not to giggle here, Brandon. This episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Now, fellas, blink if you haven't purchased a Father's Day gift yet. Well, our friends at Manscaped have crafted the total package for your dad's special day. Whether it's for the boys downstairs, his beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there, Manscaped has his bases covered. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with code OU Insider. Now, you know that beard trimmer that your dad's been using since you were in grade school? Well, yeah, it probably needs upgrading. Introducing the Beard Hedger Pro Kit, the complete or I'm sorry, complete beard maintenance kit for all the bearded kings. This all-in-one kit comes with a beard hedger, Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for his beard. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so he can style his beard and mustache like the true gentleman he is. And no beard kit would be complete without Manscaped's Handyman Face Shaver. For that smooth finish we know he loves, this bad boy is all he needs. Compact enough to fit in any travel case. Make sure he takes this on his next trip. To get the Beard Hedger Pro kit and many other Manscaped products, would recommend that you go to manscaped.com, where, of course, as I mentioned, you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code OU Insider. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code OU Insider. Never forget where you came from, if you know what I mean. Happy Father's Day from Manscaped.
There you go. All right. Oklahoma had two elite camps, one on Thursday, one on Saturday. Thursdays was okay. Obviously, Kevin Sperry was there. Um, Trying to think who else. 2026 Owasso safety, Carter Langenderfer. And yes, that's really the name.
Langendorfer.
Langenderfer. Langenderfer?
Langendorfer.
Langenderfer. Yeah, that's a there's a lot of erfers in there on his name at the end of it. There it is.
Got to break it down into chunks.
Yeah.
Langendorfer.
And then what Noah Best was there. Trying to think Bryce Brown was there from Wasso. And then I'm trying to think who else was there. Parker that
Well, let's start with the
Katoa.
well, yes. I would say let's start with the quarterbacks. Darion Coleman was there.
Yes, Darion Coleman was there. Correct. Yes.
Darion Coleman. We got our first in-person look at Darion Coleman.
That ball. Whew.
Yeah, he gets some zip on it, and it's impressive because he's not very tall. He's listed at
Yeah.
6'1". He's not
He is
6'1".
not 6'1".
No, he's not 6'1".
He's shorter than you and me.
Yeah,
And
it
you and
look
I are grazing
and
above
again,
6 foot.
arm talent is undeniable. He's not quite 6'1", so if size matters to you when it comes to quarterbacks,
There
then
you go. There you go. There you go. You,
he's
you stopped here. When it comes to quarterbacks.
had to wait for the second half of the sentence to drop. So if size matters to you when it comes to quarterbacks, there you
After the
go.
Manscaped
There's the
read.
revelation. Darion Coleman is not 6'1". That's okay. Uh, we live in an age where you don't have to have prototypical size anymore. Prototypical size, I guess, is still a thing, but definitely not something that schools are considering to be a prerequisite to play quarterback at their institution. And
Oklahoma's a prime example.
Oklahoma is a private
Kyler
example.
Murray, Baker Mayfield, Dylan Gabriel. They
Caleb
are not
Williams,
6'1".
Spencer Rattler.
Caleb Williams is 6'1", almost 6'2". There's
Yeah, six. Like, okay, but like people were still kind of
yeah, they did. They kind of questioned his height a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
at the combine in particular. It was a talking point. Oh, he's not that tall. But again, you don't need to be all that tall these days. You don't have to. The days of the Peyton Manning style of quarterback. There's still a place for those guys in today's game, but you don't have to be 6'4", 6'5" to play quarterback these days at the highest level.
Spencer Rattler, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess OU has not, and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was as tall as you. He looked you and I in the eye.
No,
So
Jalen
like
Hurts is 6'3", if not 6'4". He's a big boy.
6'4".
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big boy.
I guess I'm going to
Regardless.
disagree with that.
Okay. So Darion Coleman looked good. Like I said, he gets zip on the ball. He's an impressive specimen when it comes to sheer arm talent. And I tell you, Brandon, if that's the guy Oklahoma ends up with in the 2026 class, not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all.
6'1".
Jalen Hurts?
Yes. He looks a square in the eye, Parker. That's what I was saying.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Darion Coleman is good.
Yes, very.
So there's that. That was takeaway number one from the camp on Thursday. Really, really impressive O-line group and D line group for that matter. But the O line group has been impressive both days thus far throughout the Brent Venables football camp series. Thursday, there was a really good group that was headlined, as you mentioned, by Pupungatoa Katoa, the 3-star offensive lineman
Freaking show off.
from Trinity, or I'm sorry, Euless Trinity, down in the DFW area. 6'3", 360 pounds. So yes, he's going to be a guard, and the Sooners think he can be a very good one. They also extended a new offer in the 2026 class, Brandon, to another guard that, come to find out, hails
Mm-hmm.
from Owasso and is a big time Sooner fan, has been all his life. He lives in Midlothian, Texas now, so you
Yep.
wouldn't immediately make that connection, but the Sooners do seem to be the immediate favorite for Noah Best. And
Yep.
you and I and Marshall Levinson all very quickly entered future casts for Oklahoma to land Noah Best's commitment.
Yeah. I'll start with Katoa. I thought that one, he was dominant. Like it now, granted, there wasn't a bunch of D linemen that you looked at and went, oh, well, they're going to be able to go up against this guy. At the end of the day, Katoa is going to be a top 250 kid. Like he is going to finish in the top 250 of rivals. He may finish in the top 150 when it's all said and done, maybe higher. I think he's super impressive. If you don't, that's fine. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I thought
And
he
I
was
think
super.
I think
I
guys,
think Beatembo thought he was impressive.
yeah,
I know
trust me,
that.
Bill Beatonbo loves that kid. Bill Beatonbo
Yes.
loves Toa Katoa. But I think guys who are that large kind of have a cap on how high they're going to soar in the rankings.
Maybe, but his body gives him room to trim because he's every bit of 6'3", 6'4". Like he's a big
No
dude.
doubt. No doubt. I also just think there's a cap on interior offensive linemen in
I
general,
agree.
right?
I agree. But even there have been guards that have been, I mean, last year, what is it? Eddie Pierre Louis was grazing the top 50 the whole time as a guard, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it can happen. And I think I'm not saying he's Eddie Pierre Louis. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But I am saying that he's in that range between 150 and 250, and I even maybe 125 and 250. I think is a valid spot for him at the end of the day. He is really, really good, and everywhere he's gone, all he's done is impress, impress, impress. I thought Noah Best was probably the surprise of all the offensive linemen, to be honest.
Yeah, he looked great.
He
And
did.
and
He did.
he was not on the short list of guys
No.
where you'd pick out him and him and him and you'd be like, "Oh, definitely need to keep an eye on how he does or need to watch this kid when he takes his reps." No, Noah Best was just kind of those guys. He was kind of one of those guys that organically caught your attention where maybe
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have him on your radar like that going into the day, but you couldn't help but notice as they did one-on-ones, man, this kid's stonewalling everybody. They can't beat him.
No, he was just a phenomenal, phenomenal player. And then I was trying to pull up my list for Thursday. Felix Ojo was there as well, the 4-star offensive
And I
lineman.
think he's got the potential to be
He does his
really
frame,
good.
his
He's
frame. He's
exactly he is exactly what you want an offensive tackle to look like at that age.
slim, and you can put on weight and muscle on him. He's got the frames, his shoulders, his thighs. As much as I hate to say it, his trunk. Like it's one of those deals you look at and you're like, yep, can throw weight on that, and it's gonna when it's good weight, he's gonna be really, really, really good. And he's so athletic and
Yeah.
so fleet of foot. Like I think as he has weight, it's gonna stick. I think that's kind of the main thing there. So it was a really good trench camp as far as the O line goes. Today, we're recording this on a Saturday night, and we'll talk about Kevin Sperry too in a minute. But today, I thought the D line was really, really good.
Yeah. And
Not the O
one of the
line was too, but the D line was like shockingly good,
no question about it.
and there was offers.
One of the toughest customers was Hunter Higgins, the 3-star
Yep.
2026 defensive end from Wichita, Kansas. I've got a future cast for Hunter Higgins to Oklahoma. I think that's a battle that ultimately comes down to OU and Nebraska. I like OU for proximity's sake and for prestige's sake. And he really, really likes Miguel Chavis and Brent
Hmm.
Venables and everything that OU can offer him. Comes from a very spiritually rooted family, which you think about that, perfect fit at
Yeah,
Oklahoma,
it's
right?
Oklahoma.
So,
Yeah.
but I hadn't seen Hunter Higgins in action yet. We got to see him in action today. First thing that stands out about him, he's really big. He's
Hmm.
listed at 6'5", and you see kids listed at 6'5", and you take it with a grain of salt because guys tend to overlist themselves. They'll be generous with an extra inch or two. No, Hunter Higgins is legit 6'5". He's listed at 235 pounds. I think that's
He's every bit
probably
of
about
that. Yep.
right on the money. And biggest compliment I can give him is some of the current defensive ends on Oklahoma's roster. Like Caden Woolard was helping out at the camp today. Caden Woolard is 6'5", 260 on Oklahoma's official roster. Uh, Caden Woolard and Hunter Higgins look about the same size. Obviously, Caden's got a little bit more muscle mass, 6, 7 extra years of an advantage on Hunter in the weight room department will help with that. But Hunter Higgins did not look out of place standing next to the actual defensive ends that are actually on Oklahoma's roster right now. He was really, really tough in one-on-ones, won a lot of reps, one with speed, one with power. Uh, I'm putting my stamp on Hunter Higgins after today. I
Yeah.
think that kid's
No,
a blue chipper.
he had a really quick first step. I thought, and I'm gonna. The one thing I like to see with defensive ends in one on ones, particularly because there's no pads on, is how do they counter things? Because a lot of guys want to go in and they just want to speed, or they want to just use
Yep,
a swim move and or get skinny with their hips and their shoulders and dip their hips and try to slide around them. He had spin move, he had hands, he had counter with the hands. He would punch the inside shoulder and then cross back on the tackle. Like he was really, really, really good and a lot more refined than I thought he was going to be when I first saw him. So I think that was a plus right there. And then outside of Higgins, um, you know, there were a couple of guys, and I know we're going to talk about them in a second, but I guess I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Joshua Williams, excuse me,
he was good, man.
Dominic. He was so good that I will say somebody around the Switzer Center walked up to me and said, I don't care. He already has an OU offer, mind you. He's 2027, right? 27?
Yes, he is
Yeah,
27.
yeah, 27. I just want to make sure that was correct because sometimes by the time they get to camp, they've already reclassed down or whatever. So I want to make sure he's still 27. Um, they literally said, I don't care if he's 5'9" right now. I don't care if he's 5'10". If he can be 5'11", 6 foot and be done, he will be special. That first step is ridiculous. And they were right. His
Yeah,
first step was insane. And he was strong. Like it didn't matter if a tackle got up in him. He and you want to know why I think he 100% is a take at Oklahoma at the end of the day.
sure.
Who does he remind you of? Who was a stand-up jackbacker, very eerily similar in size and very
We all
eerily
know where
similar?
this is going.
Eric Stryker.
Eric
And who
Striker.
recruited Eric Stryker? Brent Venables.
Yep.
So like Brent's watching it, and I sat there and watched him just laugh and smile every time that he went, and it was like, you could tell it was racing. He said, he's like, I got Striker Part Two, man.
Yep.
Like this dude right here is Eric Striker Part Two, and I was first on that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how his high school career goes. But right now, if it's anything like it was during that camp, whoo, he's gonna be something special when it's all said and done. He actually figures out the game mentally as he grows year to year in high school.
Yeah.
Um,
Couple other
Go ahead.
defensive linemen that weren't really on the radar. They were actually late additions to the camp list, so they weren't really on the radar like that coming into the event. But Joe Terry defensive
Yeah.
lineman in the 2026 class out of Rancho Santa Margarita, California, showed up and dominated. He walked away with an offer. It's
Hmm.
easily his biggest, his second Power Four, I believe, after Utah. But he made a real strong impression today. Um, the other, and I'm going to give this one a shot.
Just call him Ti, man.
Tufanua Ionatana Umukais
He
from
goes by
Cherry
Ti.
Creek, Colorado, who is Joe Terry's cousin. Those two showed
Mhm.
up together.
Yep.
Uh, he had 15 Division One offers prior to this morning. He now has 16 because
He was really good.
he was really good. And the Oklahoma staff took a look and said, "Yep, we want that here. Please and
Okay,
thank you."
so let's say they take both. Where does that? I mean, like, does both of those guys end up being ranked as 4 stars at the end of the day in your mind?
They should. They should.
I
Just
agree.
based on what I saw today, just
Yep.
based on what I
Agreed.
saw, I would say that's good enough for me to put them in the low 4-star conversation. Upon further evaluation, maybe you have a conversation about elevating them even higher. But it's easy in camp settings, especially when you know who they're going up against, right? When they're not going up against scrubs, they're going up against Division One prospects as well. It's easy to spot blue chippers in camp settings, and those
It
guys are blue chippers.
Yes, 100% blue chippers. On the flip side, as far as offensive lineman went today, I we didn't get to see Drew Evers because I talked to his family and he got injured. I believe it was last year doing those type of he went through obviously the individual drills and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But when it came to 5-on-5, they're like, yeah, we're not going to risk that right now. We already has the offer. And from what I'm told, is Beatonbow was like, you do not need to do this. Like, we know what we know about you. You're really good. You got an offer as a freshman. You, you don't have to show up for us. So, um, I, I, there is a part of me that feels like, oh, you will end up with another Evers. And I think it would, I, Drew Evers has a chance to be special
Yeah.
as an offensive guard. He just does. Um, I Ohio State's trying to make a run at him, trying to get him up to camp, give him offer. If they do that, they will also go to Michigan because Sharon Moore is really recruiting the crap out of him. Texas A&M, LSU, really recruiting the crap out of him. Texas, same thing. But there is an affinity for that OU staff with the Evers family. Now, I I want to say this right and not throw shade, unjust shade, but let's just say if Seth Luttrell wasn't running the offense right now, Drew Evers isn't looking at Oklahoma the way that he's looking at Oklahoma,
Yep.
and I think
No,
that's
I think, yeah, we all know.
it's pretty obvious,
Yeah.
right? So him leaving, as good as Levy was at recruiting and doing what he was doing with the offense, it in the case of Drew Evers, it may work in OU's favor. And I can totally see it working out. The family loves Norman. They have their spots already that they like to go to.
Yep.
The staff knows them like family. They call Venables family. They said BV is family, Beat and Bow is family. That whole staff is family to
Yep.
us. They treated us so well. So I I think Oklahoma's gonna be tough to beat, if we're gonna be honest. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's gonna be up to Drew. They're gonna let Drew do what he wants to do.
As
So
he should. But yeah, no, there are plenty of folks down in the Lone Star State, not in the OU camp, that would agree that the Sooners are in the best spot right now for Drew Evers. Um, let's talk about Kevin Sperry.
yeah.
He's been at both of these camps. He's going to be at every single camp till he's got to leave for the Elite 11. Man, what impresses me the most about Kevin Sperry from what we've seen thus far in camps Thursday and Saturday is, well, two things: the ball placement
Hmm.
and the ability to throw on the run with precision,
Yep.
because he's he's had more than a few reps where he's kind of seemingly challenged himself. Obviously, you can just stand there and throw the ball, but Kevin likes to throw in a little motion one way or the other, get going to one side or the other, and then release the ball on the run. And man, he's no less accurate on the run than he is standing still. And that's an impressive trait in a quarterback.
Yeah, he's an interesting quarterback. I would even say that he is, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, man, I'm thinking about it doesn't matter. The word I'm looking for is kind of like some people love him, some people dislike what he does.
Polarizing.
Polarizing is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Yeah, he is polarizing. He's a polarizing quarterback because beauty is always in the eye of the beholder.
No
And
doubt.
for you and I, we've seen Kevin. I've seen Kevin since he was an eighth grader. So I'm a big fan of Kevin Sperry. There probably isn't a bigger fan of Kevin Sperry than me, and outside of his parents, probably. But like he just does things. Even in the one on ones, he's like you said, he's not going to just sit there and wait. If he's going to be waiting on a guy to run a route and it's taking them a while, he's going to start moving with his feet and work on an off platform throw that he's obviously going to use in a game. And he did that. It was the very first rep he took on Thursday. And I'll never forget it. Dude's running a post route. It was a post corner, actually. And Kevin slides, moves, slides back to the right, then back to the left, and throws a little sidearm flick, drops right in the bucket. And the Seth Luttrell and all the coaches around, and all of a sudden you hear one of the coaches go, throwing a little sauce on that, were you, Sperry? And Sperry turned around and he goes, just working on my footwork. And they loved it. They were all high fiving and doing all
Hmm.
that type of stuff. So it he's he's going to be a special player, and mainly because he works. I was talking to his dad today, and they said, "Look, we come to this because we're going to stack days. Like we're not here just to be here. We're here to stack another day and get better." Throwing to some of these elite wide receivers that are going to end up with OU offers and may end up, being one of his teammates. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. And obviously to get more meshed in with Luttrell and that staff, but at the same that's the purpose, is to stack days and to make sure that they're doing what they need to do to recruit and make sure they have guys showing to Norman to play with him. I thought it was interesting that Elijah Thomas was there, didn't compete, just stood there, watched. But Elijah Thomas came in to help with Deshaun Brame. Like he was hanging out with Deshaun Brame a little today. Pretty smart move.
So
Use
do
the
we ne
camp as a
let's briefly turn the page to official
okay.
visitors. We can
Okay.
cycle back around to some of the notable campers, but amidst it all, there were official visitors
There
on
were.
campus today. Three of them, as we reported for some time. It was Darius Afalava, the four-star offensive lineman from Utah, Desan Brame, the four-star tight end from Derby, and Cade Petchak, the three-star defensive end from West Fargo, North Dakota. And we saw Brent Venables spend a great deal of time with both of those guys. In Brame's case, yes, he did get to talk to Brent Venables for a good while, but you mentioned Elijah Thomas. One guy we had yet to bring up is Cooper Witten, the son of Dallas Cowboys legend Jason Witten, who earned an offer. His first offer, by the way,
Mm.
class of 2027 defender, probably ends up at linebacker in the long run. But his
This is the
dad,
third time they've been to camp, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out real quick. So the last 2 years, he was camping with my son because he was a sixth through eighth grader,
mhm.
camping with my oldest kid. And his kid dominated, as you can imagine. This was the first time they've come to this big camp. And
What I thought was interesting about the Witten's presence, because Yes, Cooper was there. He looked really good. He earned an offer. Um, his dad was there. His dad was just kind of chilling out on the sidelines. He's a high
Mhm.
school coach. So, okay, yeah, he's an NFL legend, but he's also living the dad life and he's also a high school coach. So he has multiple reasons to be at an event like this. And what I thought was interesting was when Brent Venables walked over to chat with Desan Brame, he chatted with him on his own for probably 10, 15 minutes. And then he looped Jason Witten into the conversation.
Mhm.
And BV just kind of let Witten and Brame riff off of each other for I don't know how long. They were probably standing there an additional 20 minutes
At
chatting with
least.
each other.
Mhm.
But it's funny, Jason Witten is a University of Tennessee alumnus. That's where Desan Brame's OVing next week. And everybody kind of understands Oregon is the team with the inside track. But Brent Venables was pulling out all the stops, trying to make sure that Desan Brame knows that Oklahoma is the place to be for tight ends. Well, at least that's what they would like Desan Brame to believe. Again, I don't think he sees it
Yeah.
that way right now. But
But is Witten, even though he's a Tennessee ball guy, right? Like he played there, we all know
yeah,
he was a legend there. But he's been around Norman so much and been around a lot of those players, Jackson Arnold, Peyton Bowen. Like he knows those guys. Argyle is right south of Denton. It is a particularly Denton Geyer, not too far away from there.
well, and
They're around that program.
it should be noted, and it's an obvious connection to make, but he and DeMarco Murray did play together for many
They
years.
did. So there is an affinity for the University of Oklahoma. I was getting there. There is an affinity for the University of Oklahoma, which I think is an interesting kind of, I don't know. It's weird. Like if you're Tennessee Vol and you're like, why is he always a Norman? Well, it's because one of his best friends is is a running backs coach at OU. So there is going to be some comfortability there. Yeah, he played at Tennessee, but your kid knows the coaches at OU a lot better because you live 2.5 hours away, or even I don't even know if it's 2.5 hour, hour and 45 minutes away, and you're up there quite a lot for camps and other stuff. So it it was a smart offer and it was a deserved offer because Cooper Witten did not lose a rep.
Man, he
He
was
did not
awesome.
lose a rep.
He was awesome.
He was playing defense. He is a linebacker, right? A linebacker. And he's listed as a safety wide receiver in high school, and that's what he'll play. He is going to grow into a linebacker. If you look at his frame, that dude's a linebacker. He was locking dudes down at a playing corner, and they weren't going to catch the ball if he was going. He made a couple of interceptions, Parker. I know you saw it as well, where you were just like, what in the world? High pointing the ball, jumping over. The very first rep he took, he high pointed over one of the wide receivers and then just handed
Mhm.
the ball back to him. And I was like, whoa. Well, and that point, I had no idea that he was Cooper Witten, by the way. Like, no idea that that was Jason Witten's kid. Because you and I both were looking, it's like, who is that kid? So he finally walked over. He's like, my name's Cooper Witten. It's like,
So that's
yeah,
why your
no.
dad's here hanging out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we knew
Um,
he had a kid there. We just didn't know which one was which. He's also grown about 6 inches since the last time I saw
you
him.
know who he reminds me of is, and I'm thinking, modest size for a linebacker, but just ridiculous athleticism to the point where you look at that guy and you're like, okay, he's maybe even a little too athletic to be what you would conventionally consider to be a linebacker. You
Uh-huh.
think linebacker, you think hitter, you think, they're filling gaps in run defense. But he reminds me a little bit of Sammy Omosigho. I think they're cut
It's a
from
good one.
similar
Yeah,
cloth.
it's a
So,
good
and
one.
obviously that's cloth that Brent Venables likes.
Yes.
So, the other official visitor that we saw today, we did not see Darius Afalava. We did see Cade Petchak. He is real, Brandon. He exists.
And he's
We
huge.
saw him with our own two eyes. Boy, he is a big dude.
Mhm.
He, like Hunter Higgins, is not generously listed at 6'5". He is accurately listed at 6'5". We saw Brent Venables spend a great deal of time talking with Cade Petchak and his family as well. Par for the course in this recruitment because the head ball coach has really taken the Sooners' pursuit of Petchak seriously from a personal standpoint. He has sowed a lot into that relationship, really
Hmm.
invested a lot into making sure that Petchak winds up in Norman. I noticed tonight, Brandon, right before we went on the air, you joined me in throwing in a future cast for
I
Oklahoma
did.
Lancade Petchak.
I did. Just people feel pretty good about where Oklahoma stands there, and I don't know that it happens this weekend. It wouldn't shock me if Oklahoma was able to close the deal this weekend, but it just feels like this thing is trending in Oklahoma's direction. And if Oklahoma decides to go that direction, I think he's theirs to lose. And that's kind of was why I went that route. Just from talking to people today, just felt like it was trending the way that they wanted it to trend.
Yeah,
So,
big time.
yeah.
I love him, man. I love that kid on film.
Yeah.
I think his ceiling is so, so high
What's
because
it?
what
Where's
you
he
must
ranked if
consider,
he's lived in Florida or Texas or Georgia or so? What would he be ranked?
I think he's a top 150 player in the country.
Agreed.
Easily,
Yep.
easily. Now,
Yep.
what gets me so excited about his future and why I think there's so much intrigue is because, yeah, the first question anybody has about somebody who plays at a place like North Dakota is, okay, are they going to be able to make the transition from a competitive standpoint? And that's one side of the coin, certainly. The other side of the coin is with the lack of resources and opportunities for elite coaching and development that you have in Fargo relative to a place like Dallas or a place like Houston or Atlanta, or I don't know, pick a big metro area, right? Once you get a kid like that and you have the chance to really mold him, you can unlock things in his game that aren't there to unlock for kids that grew up in those big metro areas because they've already been coached by skills trainers and they've already had individual lessons and they've been privy to a lot more of what traditionally comprises a young athlete's developmental journey. Cade Petchak's just a kid from North Dakota that's playing football, man.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays really, really impressive football. Two-way guy. He plays defensive end, he plays offensive tackle, and he just murders dudes on both sides of the ball. He is strong as heck. He has great quickness, instincts. He flies to the ball. He hits hard. He is exactly what you want an Oklahoma defensive end to be. I see why Brent Venables loves him.
Yeah, there's going to be those that joke and they're like, Andy's white. And so, so is Hunter Higgins.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So is Cooper Witten. So, no, I kid, sort of. But I just, yeah, I just like the fact he's from Fargo, North Dakota. Just because what are the odds OU has somebody on the roster from Fargo, North Dakota? Has that ever happened?
I don't believe we had done some research on it a couple weeks back. I don't believe the Sooners have ever rostered a scholarship player from North Dakota. Again,
I rest my
Oklahoma
South
football,
Dakota they have, but not North Dakota.
yes.
Yeah.
Oklahoma football and its history extends far beyond my lifespan and yours.
Mhm.
Perhaps somewhere in the 130-year history of Oklahoma football leading up to this year, there's been a guy on the roster from the state of North Dakota. All I'm saying is, as far as I can tell, there is no record of one. So this would be new territory. It's interesting because
Yeah.
Miguel Chavis has pulled from, if they land Petchak, he will have pulled from 7 different states in the last 3 recruiting cycles.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can hit all of them. Oklahoma, Texas, Minnesota, Florida,
Right.
Tennessee,
Correct.
and Missouri. There you go.
Correct.
And
Yep.
North Dakota will be 7. So, man, the geographic scope of Chavis's influence as a recruiter
Yeah.
is
Okay. But He hasn't pulled from Georgia though, has he?
He is not.
And he does have a chance to if
He does have a
things. He
chance.
does have a chance. Don't know
He's
how
got
big
a
a chance, but
chance.
he's got a chance. That's the one shocker I could see taking place. And we're talking about Isaiah Gibson, but that's neither here nor there. But that would be interesting to add that state to the fold. Speaking of Georgia, um, I was talking to somebody today, and they trying to word this right. They were talking about how Clemson ran things when they were doing camps, and they were specifically talking about the offensive line and defensive line. And there was a freshman today. I don't know that he got the offer. Um, want to pronounce his name correctly, so I'm going to pull it up here. Quelly Fielder, and he was actually really good at OU's camp. He is a 2028 kid. He was every bit of 6'4", 6'5", 303 pounds. But I was talking to somebody about specifically him, and all they kept saying was they just grow them differently in Georgia. And then they went on to go, well, in Clemson, they would always have just hordes of Quelly Fielder types
Hmm.
there, whether it was eighth grade through senior class, like the whole thing, offense and defensive line look like, because Georgia grows them differently. I'm interested to see how Oklahoma decides to do that. Obviously, Wanya Morris, obviously, Orlando Brown. Those are two Georgia guys, right? Am I remembering that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes, you are correct.
They grow them differently in Georgia. So if Quelly Fielder can become that, it was really cool for him to come up. He competed against a bunch of guys that were way older than him. I think he's 14 years old. And those obviously he was going against 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. He is definitely on the radar, and he's a name that OU fans need to file away.
Uh, yeah, couple closing things here. There were a bunch of new offers that went out after the camp today. The Sooners offered 2026 four-star wide receiver Jalen Pyle. That had been a long time coming. They offered 2026 four-star safety Jordan Deck.
Yep.
He's a really impressive player.
Very impressive. Source around Oklahoma said elite footwork, which he does.
Hmm.
And you probably are watching it right now on um, the B roll right now as we talk. And two, I'm telling you, the second he figures it out with his length and his footwork, it's over. So Oklahoma went. He was nicked up a little bit last year, was wearing a brace all through spring. So Oklahoma was like, you need to come up here and we need to see you, move without that brace. If
Yeah.
you can show you can move without that brace, then you're good. We're going to offer you. And that's exactly what took place today. I like Oklahoma a lot for him. I'm not like to where I'm going to put in a future cast or anything like that, but Brandon Hall generally finds one or two guys every year that he just pinpoints really quickly
Hmm.
and bam, and they end up being Sooners. And I feel like this fits. He's a smart kid, 3.1 GPA, super, super. This is why I feel he fits Oklahoma, Parker. He walked up to me, as you know, because you helped edit it, and he said, can you please throw together some film for me so I can look at what I did right, what I did wrong, and work on it? So we put the film together, we sent it off to him. And so he's got that grit, that OU grind mentality that Venables and that staff, feeds off of and makes the players feed off of. So that's another reason why I think that he fits. Plus, he's from Frisco, and Frisco, again, that North Dallas area is very OU centric. So they tend to get a lot of those guys if they want them. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I like Jordan Deck a lot. He fits the bill. He looks the part.
Yep.
If he's developed properly, that'll be an NFL guy. I believe that. Uh, we got a 2027 quarterback offer today, the earliest
Yes.
quarterback offer on record in quite some time. Trey Taylor out of Mundelein, Illinois, already had 16 FBS offers prior to today. Oklahoma became his 17th, the very first QB offer for Oklahoma in the 2027 cycle. And we're starting to get a sense, Brandon, of what type of quarterback Seth Luttrell would like to build around.
Yeah, he likes those long athletic guys. Not so much long, but he likes the athletic guys, the guys that can move around, and they've just got just electric, electric arms.
Yep.
And saw that with Sperry. You see that with, Darion Coleman. You see that with Jaden O'Neal. You see that with Jonas Williams, ironically, also from the Chicago, Illinois area. So, in the 2026 class. So, the other interesting part about Taylor was, do you want to know who his first, do you want to know who his QB coach is?
Who's his QB coach?
His first QB coach, he's the first guy he ever worked with, Tony Romo, because his dad played with Tony Romo.
Wow, that's a fun connection.
And so stupid fly in here. So he walked over and he talked to Jason Witt and got a photo with him. And as that was taking place, his dad's telling me the story about all of that. So that was like small world all meeting together because they have just been on a tour of all tours. They started with Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They went down to Kentucky. Then they flew to North Carolina, went to North Carolina, North Carolina State, flew out to here to Oklahoma, and then they have South Carolina. And who's the other one they have left? South Carolina and who else? Is it Tennessee?
It might be Tennessee. I can't
Maybe
recall.
Tennessee. Can't remember. I know South Carolina, maybe Tennessee, the other one. So they're on like this tour. And I they like Oklahoma a lot. Now, what would be interesting is if Jonas Williams and Oklahoma end up being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how that would play out because they obviously know each other. Um, but the one thing I liked about him is that it didn't matter what route they threw, he was throwing it in a spot that only the receiver could get to all day long and with no timing. That's tough to do in these one-on-one things at these camps because you don't have any timing with these receivers. You get to throw on air for like 30 minutes and then they're like, all right, let's go outside and let's do one-on-ones. No time. So I like the kid. He's tall. He's a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. And he's got a frame. He's thin right now, but that's to be expected being going into his sophomore year.
Sure.
It'll be interesting how his body fills out moving to his senior year, but he's got a chance to be really, really, really good. Um, Trying to think who else picked up an offer today that we need to talk about, or in the last.
Eugene Reardon, another Illinois kid, 2026 offensive lineman.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I didn't get to see much of him. You would have to. I'll let you go on that one.
Hulele Primus from Midland, Texas, another
Saw that
26
one. Yep,
offensive lineman.
he was good.
Big kid. Big
Mm-hmm.
kid. See why Bill Beatonbow likes him.
Yeah, super raw, but big. And when I say raw, not so much just his footwork's raw and everything about it's raw, but his body is raw. Like it's gonna take some developing, but when it gets developed, he has a chance to just be a behemoth of a human being. It's gonna, yeah, he's those
Yeah.
Samoans, man, they breed them big, dude. Like there's some big, big people and always really good offensive linemen or defensive linemen, like almost guaranteed without fail. And you notice Oklahoma is recruiting Samoans a lot more ever since they've gotten Dylan Gabriel and the
Yeah.
last it's
I tell you,
I
man, Dylan Gabriel was vital for Oklahoma for so many reasons. So many reasons. And I don't
Yep.
think anybody can or will appreciate all of those reasons uh, until several years down the road.
Yep. Agreed.
I think it's going
Totally
to
agree.
take a while for the extent of Dylan Gabriel's impact and influence at Oklahoma to really sink in for
Mhm.
everybody. But he was the perfect quarterback to kick off the Venables era.
Yep. He fit so much and he was such a personable person and that Oklahoma needed that at that time
Yeah.
after everything that went down. So anyways, All right. Is there anybody else you want to talk about?
Ah, if there's anybody that we've missed, obligatory nod to 2027 wide receiver Trenton Yancey, who had a great camp
Oh
Thursday. But we're
gosh.
we're going to talk about that guy so often for the next few years that I don't even really feel the need to bring him up because no doubt we'll be talking about him after the Rivals 5-star again at the end of the month. Yeah, he'll have his name mentioned plenty on this podcast in
Yeah,
the months and years ahead.
he is downright special. Downright the you can vouch for this, Parker. Did he catch every pass no matter where it was thrown to him the other day? He made one-handed catch the other day that I was just like, you
He is,
stupid. He's so
yeah.
stupid.
He can go get the ball,
Embarrassed
man.
the DB.
He can make competitive catches. And at his age, there are precious few guys that with a defender wrapped around him can go and catch the ball wherever it's thrown. He can do that, man. He's got
He's
strong hands.
built like a grown
Strong
man.
hands.
Grown man. And he and Drew Evers and a bunch of other guys in that class all kind of came together, which I thought was interesting. Like they were talking. His dad was telling me about all the FBU stuff and how they all just kind of went through. Oh no 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 no! It wasn't him. It was Josiah Dickerson's dad was telling me that about how they all went to like the FBU camp and they were all together and then they're all coming up together going to the camps and they've just been buddies ever since. That 27 class is going to be interesting. Very interesting because they seem pretty tight knit across the board. And you don't see that a lot. You know what I mean?
No.
So this region in particular. So I think it's going to be interesting if OU can piggyback off that. Anyways, all right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of recruiting talk, a lot of camp talk. We're going to continue to do this all through next week as well. So there's more camps to be had and to be done at Oklahoma. We will have more information on the official visits, and we'll have that all over on OU Insider VIP. So make sure you sign up. $9.95 a month, $99.95 will get you a whole year, get you all the official visits. This week or this month in particular is official visit month. So the next 3 weeks, the perfect timing. And then right after that, SEC Media Day. You also have Rivals 5-star thrown in there where there'll be a bunch of OU targets there that we'll have updates on, and then 25, 26, 27 class. And then obviously fall camp kicks off, party in the palace, all of that. This is the perfect time to sign up. Right here, right now, you will get your money's worth. So easy. Notes going up all the time between Parker and myself. And then you have Jesse and you have Brian throwing up a bunch of other notes on softball, basketball, baseball. You have Brody doing a bunch of basketball notes. Perfect time to sign up right here, right now. So make sure you do that. Go to OU Insider and sign up. Also, subscribe right here to this YouTube. Lots of stuff going on, lots of podcasts, lots of videos, every day OU content right here on OU Insider YouTube. All right. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.